Hey everybody, welcome to the Pace Studios here in New York City. Today we're here with a very special guest, Mr. Sonny Landreth. Sonny, thanks for coming around and playing for us today.
It's great to be here. I appreciate you having me.
So you got a new record out. It's a double live album. It's called Recorded Live in Lafayette.
Yeah, it's our first live album in a long time, and first double. And one disc is all acoustic, and one is all electric. So we just sort of evolved into that, playing the shows. And so today I'm kind of representing the acoustic, minus my band, mind you. But it's great, yeah. And it was a hometown crowd. A couple of old friends sat in with us. It was really special. Something I've been wanting to do for a long time.
Yeah, sweet. Tell us about the first song you're gonna do for us here today.
Well, as part of this project, I wanted to be a bit of a retrospective and different songs from different times of my career and playing with my friends. And one of them goes back to '81. This is called Blues Attack. Recorded it in a local studio back in the day, and I was my own distributor, literally, with vinyl albums in the car and drive around to the record store. So a little bit of that. This is called Blues Attack. Trouble when you knock on the door. Another one slammed at the back of the porch. And for the bar, I'm about to get a blues attack. Baby on the side is sneaking behind your back. Don't you know you got trouble when you call on the phone? A stranger says that your baby ain't home. And for the bar, I'm about to get a blues attack. It's sneaking behind your back. you.
Thanks, man. That is amazing.
I appreciate it.
So you were talking about the album recorded live in Lafayette, Louisiana, where you are from. Born in Mississippi, raised
Right.
in Louisiana.
Right.
So I wanted to talk about that. That song, Blues Attack, goes all the way back to the beginning of your recording career. And this album, which is a double album, all recorded live, seems to be kind of, it covers the entire spectrum of what you've done from then until now. There's acoustic arrangements, which are rare for you, I know. There's electric, which is what people are a little bit more familiar with. There's Zydeco. A lot of the ingredients you've been using all along. So tell us, how did this all come together now, and why'd you want to do this at this stage?
Well, I guess since I'm old now, I better start looking back and account for something. After 46 years on the road, but you're right. It's kind of a lot going on there for me, and it just seemed like the best time to do it. And also, I felt like for people that are familiar with my work, then the acoustic versions of some of these songs that were formerly like full band or full production in the studio gets at the heart of the song in a way. I mean, because a lot of times when you're writing, I'll start out with an acoustic guitar, and then they're often running to thinking of arrangements and production. But there's something about that I think is more, I don't know, a little more personal and a little more intimate for the audience too, and I think they tap into that. So that would be kind of cool for them to hear these songs like that, and at the same time for newcomers or somebody that's never heard any of it, then I thought it would make a good overview with all the different songs from different times like that.
Yeah. So in terms of the songs that, like for that one, for example, for Blues Attack, it obviously sounds perfectly suited to the format you're playing now.
Right.
So I wonder, with your background, you played with Clifton Chenier a lot when you were coming up, but you're a Mississippi guy originally. So, when you look back, way back to when you were starting, is it the Robert Johnsons and Skip Jameses of the world that really gave you your spark, or was it more the electric players of the later years?
Well, actually, originally it was Scotty Moore of Elvis Presley's band, and I didn't even realize that till they did their first TV appearance. I was a little kid, and I saw the guy in the background playing the electric. He said, "Wow, wait, that's the sound." I was, I was honing in on that, and I want to do that. So that was kind of the beginning of it. And I actually started out on trumpet when I was 10, and played that through my school years. So that was always my academic instrument, and had jazz and classical influences from that. But guitar was always the one, So by the time, I don't know how I talked my folks into 3 years later getting me a guitar while I was still learning trumpet, but they did, and that was off and running on that. But those early recordings, for me, it was Chet Atkins, because I was working in a music store, and it was an older kid, and he said, "What kind of music do you like?" And we started talking, and he said, "Well, have you ever heard of Chet Atkins?" I said, "Well, yeah." And he sat down and played a couple of his songs that blew my mind, because I didn't really think of guitar as a solo instrument like this. I was more thinking in terms of rocking out and so forth. And that's how I developed the fingerstyle approach in my right hand. So that a little later, when I started getting into the blues and listening to like Robert Johnson in particular and others, then I started with the slide, and it was putting the two together that kind of set me on my path.
Right, and that's your signature really is the slide.
Yeah, it is. I did both. I started out like everybody, and continued that through many years, career and all. But at one point, I started getting to know all these other people, and became friends with Robin Ford and Eric Johnson and all these others. And I thought, you know what, I better stick with the slide, and better go back with something I might have a little bit of an edge on, Yeah. And they're fully, taking care of the other department. But like with John Hyatt, working with him, I did both, and that was good for me. I think about getting back into it from time to time with flat picking, and But we'll see.
So tell us a little about the next song you're gonna do from the live record today.
Yeah, this is another one, and part of the last album we did, called "Bound by the Blues," was very much in keeping with what we're talking about now, tribute to heroes. And so I had some of these old songs, like this next one called Key to the Highway, and that I go so far back with, and when I was first learning them, I couldn't really play very well. And it's interesting how they have a life of their own and have evolved as, for me, as I would evolve as a musician. And I come back and rearrange these songs and bring, you know, new ideas and techniques into them. And so there's kind of a real cool give and take. And again, I think that gets back to what we were speaking of, being more personal, and it's more of a backstory, and it's a much richer experience for me. And so they just stick with me somehow, some of these old songs, and this is one of them for sure. And I'd like to just acknowledge that we lost one of our great Cajun stars back home. D.L. Menard passed away this morning. He was a dear friend and writer of one of the greatest songs of all time, which if I could sing it in Cajun French, I would right now. But so I won't do that, but I'd like to send this song out to him and his family. It's called The Key to the Highway. Thank you.
Thanks, man. So, we're all sort of guitar geeks around here, and we recognize a great player when we see one. So, I wanted to ask you about your style of playing the guitar and how you sort of came to it. You have the slide on your pinky finger. I think most people probably are on the ring or even the middle.
A lot of people do,
and
yeah,
you have,
yeah.
and so you were able to use your index and your middle fingers for more fretting than I think you'll ever see a slide guitar player use, really. So how'd you develop this style?
Well, I was actually, first of all, I got into the chordal tunings on guitar from the Delta, all the Delta Cats. And I was actually in E tuning. I'm in G today.
An open G, yeah?
Yeah, an open G. And but I actually had the guitar tuned to an E. And essentially, I was a bit frustrated because I play in a band, and then we'd play a song like in G major, then we'd play a minor blues, and I'd shift positions to work around that. But I kept thinking, well, is there some way to play it? Of course, I could tune to, like, say, G minor. But instead of doing that, I was looking out the strings, and I noticed, well, there's that flatted third I need, so I'm in G. How could I play in G minor? And I saw that note back there.
Right.
I'm like, oh, hello. And that just sort of a flashbulb went off and just opened the door to, because then I thought, well, if that's there, then there's all these other possibilities. So what I'm doing is the slide, and typically, and traditionally, as you're sliding, those strings don't touch the frets of the neck.
Right.
You're above the fretboard. So what that enables me to do is to reach back and fret a string. So that goes underneath the slide.
Right.
And at the same time, I have this fretted note combined with these notes that are floating with the slide above the fretboard. There's just enough room. It's those chords, 7 chords.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to like it lends the songs like such another element of musicality. It's almost surprising to not see more players do what you have done.
Yeah, there've been some, and what I always say it to me, it says a lot more about slide guitar per se, the potential of it, because what I found is, especially incorporating this particular approach and technique, that I've played on all kinds of different albums of different artists. The versatility factor of slide guitar per se is so diverse, and country to rock, blues, jazz, you name it, zydeco, Cajun, everything. And that's what I really am most kind of proud of, just to kind of be a proponent of that, and to open up the possibilities, because I learned that to push the boundaries is where you find the fun stuff,
Yeah.
And I figured, well, if that was that, I'm all fired up, and there's got to be something else to learn. And then, so one thing leads to another in developing different techniques and ideas, and which is great. But if you don't make music with it, really didn't make any difference. But that was always my goal, to serve the song, And so I would bring those ideas into the studio and work up songs. I started recording when I was a kid, my folks, my dad actually worked for State Farm Insurance, and he was an adjuster and would have to go out in the field, as they say, with these old dictaphones at the time. They're these big, wide tape. It was a loop that fit in a machine. And we'd go to his office on the weekend, just, goofing around, and he'd say, come here a minute, come hear yourself talk. He'd record, put it on record, and then we goofed around and played it back and went, oh no, that's what I sound like. I never got over it. I'm still saying. But it started with that, and then I got a reel-to-reel machine by the time I was 14, I'm sure, and started experimenting with sound on sound and multi-tracking. So that really served me well. So when I would come up with these ideas, I'd already have a mental picture, and thinking in terms of being a producer. Okay, what do you do with this, and how does that fit into making music?
Right.
So that's where it really gets to be real interesting.
And now here you are all these years later, still making live recordings for people.
Yeah, somehow.
Yeah.
You know, I'll do it till somebody pulls a trap door. You know. And
So you got one more for us today from the new record. Tell us a little bit about this last one.
Well, this one I've been saying each night because, you know, where you're killing time in between a song, retuning or whatever. This notion of, you know, if we were to come up with our own category for the Grammys, you know, and that ever elusive Grammy win, which is kind of a joke, really. I mean, I don't really care, but it's great if you get one. It's awesome, and I have many friends who have done incredibly well, and I celebrate that. But this one, if there was a category for the domestic disturbance song, this would be my pick. This is entitled "Hell at Home." Sorry, kids, cussing on the air, but. Daddy's doorbell was ringing when I called on the telephone. He was the one to answer, so I told him what was going on. Said, I love you, daughter, but we don't get along. I said, I love your daughter, but we don't get along. In fact, it's true to tell, she's been giving me hell at home. Not sure she ain't aiming, she's still going strong. Not sure she ain't aiming, she's still going strong. But she's alive and well, just a giving me hell at home. Hell at home. I said, you moody little angel that packed her bags and gone. I said, you moody little angel that packed her bags and gone. Now she'll be ringing your bell, gonna be giving you hell at home. The daddy doorbell was ringing when I called on the telephone. He was the one to answer, so I told him what was going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonny.
Thank you very much.
So you've got a date coming up tonight in Belmar, New Jersey, I
That's
know.
right.
And I think you're doing some more East Coast dates, I
We
believe,
are.
along
Yeah,
the way.
Yeah, we're doing the beach today. We'll get the sand out of our gear, then head up to Fall River, Mass, to the Narrows. We've been playing there for a long time. It's a great gig, great folks. And then we wrap it up at Daryl's place up in Pauling. And formerly was the town crier, which we did a lot in friends with Phil, who owned that. He moved into another venue elsewhere, and but this is Daryl of Hall & Oates.
Right, yeah,
fame.
Daryl
And,
Hall
yeah, he's got
doing his-
and he really tricked it out. It's a great venue for production. Speaking of which earlier, and we appreciate that. We at these places that they really go all out with the gear and the front of house PA and the monitors, and so it's a great listening room for people.
Right. And so the new record is a double album. It's called Recorded Live in Lafayette. It's out now.
That's right.
It's a great career-spanning record, so congratulations on that.
I appreciate that.
And thank you for coming and playing for us today at Paste. It was a great honor, and come back anytime, man.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much.